When I was 59, I thought I was making the smartest move of my life. I was newly retired, still in good health, tired of the traffic, the noise, and the unpredictability of city life. So I sold the house, packed up a lifetime of memories, and moved into a well-reviewed 55-plus retirement community just outside town. It felt like I was leveling up, trading in chaos for calm. The brochures were beautiful. Smiling seniors riding bikes, clean streets, gated security. And let's be honest, the tax breaks and HOA-covered maintenance didn't hurt either. I told my friends, this is the beginning of a new chapter. A peaceful, easy one. One where I could finally rest and enjoy life at my pace. But 3 years later, I'm 62, and I feel like I've aged 10 years in those 3. What I thought would be paradise turned out to be something else, something much harder to admit. And now I live with a regret I never saw coming. At first, everything was exactly as promised. Quiet streets, well-kept lawns, no noisy neighbors. But something felt off. It didn't hit me right away. It was more like a slow erosion, like tiny drops of water wearing away the stone of your spirit day after day. The first thing I noticed, how many homes around me were just suddenly empty. A neighbor who used to wave every morning, gone. No warning, no goodbye, just a moving truck or sometimes an ambulance. I started hearing the same phrases over and over. He had a fall, she's in memory care now. They passed last week. And it started to dawn on me, this wasn't just a retirement community, this was a waiting room. You see, when you're 59, you're technically allowed in, just old enough to qualify. But what no one tells you is that most of the people here aren't 59 or 62 or even 70. They're in their late 70s, 80s, even 90s. And while they've earned their rest, their pace, their quiet, I hadn't realized how far apart our lives truly were. They were talking about funerals, about wills, about who would care for the dog after they were gone. Meanwhile, I was still wondering if I should dye my hair, if I should date again, if I should go back to school just for fun. It's like I moved into a space where everyone was trying to slowly disappear, and I was still trying to come alive. The silence here isn't peaceful. It's heavy. It's the kind of silence that follows you into your kitchen, that fills the space between TV shows, that creeps into your chest and whispers, this is it. This is all that's left. Every time I hear an ambulance now, and it happens more than I ever imagined, I don't jump, I don't run outside. I just sigh. Because I know what it means. Another neighbor down. Another reminder of how fragile this whole illusion is. And worse, how lonely it can feel when you're still full of questions, but everyone around you seems ready to stop asking. I used to think peace meant quiet. Now I know better. Peace means purpose. In this place, it took mine from me, slowly, gently, without meaning to. But the effect has been real. And now, 3 years later, I find myself waking up, feeling heavier, slower. Not just physically, but emotionally. And it's not because I'm 62, it's because I'm surrounded by decline, by grief, by stories that don't move forward, only backward or down. And that's not how I want to live. Not now. Not yet. If any part of this story feels familiar to you, you're not alone. So many of us make choices that seem right at the time, only to wake up years later wondering what happened to the spark. If you've ever questioned where you are, or felt that quiet ache for something more, take a second to like this video or share it with someone who understands. And if you're still here watching, it means something in you is still searching. So let's keep going, together. There's a moment, usually around late afternoon, after the mail's been picked up and the daily walk is done, when the stillness in this place becomes almost unbearable. It's when the silence feels loudest, when the weight of the day settles in your chest like a stone, and you start to wonder, is this how the rest of my life is going to feel? Because in this so-called community, I've never felt more alone. You would think living among neighbors of a similar age would feel comforting, that we'd have deep conversations, shared experiences, a sense of understanding. But instead, what I've found is a strange politeness. We wave, we nod, we ask how each other are doing. But no one really listens, no one really connects, because connection takes energy, vitality, hope, and those are things that feel in short supply around here. I walk through the clubhouse sometimes, the same place where the brochures showed people playing cards, laughing, dancing. But now it's mostly empty. A few folks reading newspapers, a slow game of bridge in the corner, TVs turned to news stations that no one is watching. There's no music, no movement, no light in the eyes of the people sitting there. It's like the life has been drained out, and all that's left is routine, quiet, polite, and utterly unfulfilling. I used to be someone who made friends easily. I loved coffee meetups, spontaneous conversations in the checkout line, long chats on the porch. But here, everyone is withdrawn, tired, busy managing doctor appointments, medications, caretakers. And when I do open up, when I say, I feel a little down these days, the most common response I get is, well, that's just part of getting older. But no, it's not just aging. It's the environment. It's the emotional gravity of a place that feels more like the final chapter than the next adventure. And it's not just the loneliness. It's the mental exhaustion of constantly being reminded that your time is limited. That death is just down the road or across the hall. That every cough, every fall, every ambulance could be someone you smiled at yesterday. There's something so quietly devastating about that. You don't realize how much it chips away at your own spirit until you notice it's almost gone. 3 years ago, I thought I was moving into a vibrant, active community. That's how they sold it. Maintenance-free lifestyle, social clubs and recreation, a place to live your golden years in joy. But the reality is far different. It's not vibrant, it's not active. It's sanitized, predictable, and frankly, designed more for fading than for flourishing. The brochures forgot to mention that active lifestyle meant bingo once a week, and community events meant 3 people showing up to a potluck with sugar-free cookies. And slowly, that does something to you. It convinces you that maybe you've already done your living, that maybe now it's time to sit back and coast toward the end. But I don't want to coast, I want to live. I wake up some mornings and think, what if I had chosen differently? What if I had moved to a small town near a park? Or a walkable neighborhood with families and kids and coffee shops and noise? What if I had taken the messiness of real life over the sterile calm of this slow goodbye? Because I'd rather hear a baby cry than another conversation about who died this week. I'd rather deal with traffic and barking dogs than sit through another grief support meeting. I want life, not just quiet. And maybe that's the biggest realization I've had. Quiet is not always peace. Sometimes quiet is just a pause button on the soul. And I'm tired of being paused. A few months ago, I was sitting on my back patio. It was a clear blue sky afternoon, one of those rare perfect days. No wind, birds chirping, the sun hitting the plants just right. I should have felt grateful. But instead I felt empty, like I had become a shadow of who I once was. Quiet, fading, distant from myself. And that's when something inside me broke, or maybe it woke up. A voice I hadn't heard in years whispered, "You're not done yet." That moment changed everything, because I realized I'd been living like I was already halfway gone, even though my heart was still beating, my legs still moved, and my dreams, they were still quietly waiting. So I started asking questions, big ones. What would it look like to truly live again, to feel alive, not just safe, to feel connected, not just accommodated, to feel vibrant, not just comfortable? And the more I asked, the more I knew I have to leave. Not someday, not when it's convenient, not when I'm ready. Because if I wait to be ready, it may already be too late. This place, this community, isn't killing me, but it's not feeding me either. And I believe deep in my bones that after 60, after 70, after 80, we deserve more than decline. We deserve color, movement, joy, laughter, curiosity, growth. I've started making plans. I'm looking at towns with parks and libraries, places where kids ride bikes down the street, where there's a bakery on the corner, where music sometimes spills out of open windows. I'm not looking for noise, I'm looking for life, because I finally understand the goal isn't to avoid death. The goal is to choose life, again and again and again, for as long as we possibly can. To anyone watching this who feels what I'm feeling, maybe you're only 58, maybe you're 70, maybe you're 82, it's not too late. If you still wake up and feel that little ache of there's more I want to do, then listen to it. That's your soul telling you it's still here, that you still matter, that you are not finished. So no, I don't regret retiring, and I don't regret wanting peace. but I do regret choosing stillness over growth, safety over purpose, comfort over connection, and I won't make that mistake again. If this story reaches even one person who's sitting quietly in a 55-plus community, wondering if this is really all there is, please hear me. It's not. There's more. There's always more, and you're allowed to go find it. So here's my next chapter. At 62, not winding down, not giving up, but beginning again, on my terms. Because I've still got stories to write, hands to hold, sunrises to chase, books to read, strangers to meet, songs to hum, and maybe even love to find. And I hope you do too. Thank you for listening. If this spoke to you, I hope you'll share it with someone else who needs to be reminded. We are not done yet.